to Weather Extra. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Jillian Johnson. It's Labor Day weekend, and this weekend marks the unofficial end of summer for Americans. Labor Day falls on the first Monday in September, so the date can obviously vary, but here's what a normal Labor Day should feel like in Central Texas. An average Labor Day should have a high of 94 and a low of 70. The hottest Labor Day in Central Texas history fell back on September 4th in the year 2000, when temperatures reached 111 degrees. Since the year 1900, there's been 13 Labor Days that have had triple-digit temperatures. But there's been some cool air around occasionally for Labor Day as well. The coolest Labor Day temperature was 59 degrees, which occurred in 1982 on September 6th. Now, the wettest Labor Day was back in 1906 when 3.65 inches of rain fell at the Waco Regional Airport on the 3rd. And since 1900, there's been recorded rainfall on 39 of the holidays. So what did Labor Day look like last year? Well, it was much cooler than normal thanks to a cool front. High temperatures on Labor Day were 88 degrees last year and the low was 75. We also had some rainfall on Labor Day last year. A little more than half of an inch was picked up at the Waco Regional Airport. Not only does the 1st of September mark Labor Day this year, but the 1st of September also marks the start to meteorological fall. Here's more on what an average September should look like in Central Texas. The start of September still has the feel of summer in Central Texas, as the normal high is 95 and the low is around 71. But as we make our way through the month, we see a nice drop in our temperatures thanks to the arrival of autumn. By the 30th, normal highs fall to 87 degrees and the low down to 62. And speaking of autumn, the first day of fall arrives on Monday, September 22nd this year. The official start time of the new season is 1:19 p.m. Central Time. We have seen some very hot temperatures in September. Record highs every single day throughout the month are at or above 100 degrees. The hottest temperature recorded at the Waco Regional Airport was 111 degrees, which occurred on Labor Day back in the year 2000. And while we have seen some cold air sneak on south throughout the month of September, we've never recorded freezing temperatures. The coldest recorded temperature in September is 39 degrees, which occurred on the 27th back in the year 1942. If you're wondering when the earliest freeze on record is, well, that's actually on October 24th, which happened back in 1917. Now let's talk about rainfall in September. September is tied with December for the 6th rainiest month of the year in Central Texas. On average, we should pick up a little under 3 inches of rain throughout the month. Now, the rainiest September on record was back in 1913 when over 11 inches fell at the Waco Regional Airport, and the rainiest day was the 27th back in 1936 when over 6 inches fell. There's only been 1 year where Waco Regional saw no rainfall in September, and that happened back in 1956. And with no freezing temperatures ever recorded in the month, we have, of course, never seen any snowfall in September. Since 1818, the Farmer's Almanac has put out seasonal outlooks. This year's winter forecast is calling for cold and wet conditions across Texas. First Alert meteorologist Sean Bellafury has a look at what goes into this seasonal outlook and how it compares to other outlooks.
You may have seen floating around social media this. The Farmer's Almanac Winter Outlook has been released, calling for Texas to have, quote, cold and wet conditions. What does that mean? Well, according to the Farmer's Almanac website, the forecasts are calculated 2 years in advance using, quote, a tried and true formula using original rules set forth back in 1818, but also accounts for fluctuations in the environment on Earth, solar activity, the motion of the moon, and other proprietary factors. I would say to take the Farmer's Almanac forecast with a grain of salt. For one, forecasts are created by Caleb Weatherby, a pseudonym that has been passed down through generations and has been used to conceal the true identity of the men and women behind the predictions. Secondly, the Farmer's Almanac has no statistics about how well their forecasts hold up, only saying that readers claim they are accurate 85% of the time. Finally, long-range seasonal forecasting relies on changing oceanic and weather conditions and patterns, so making a forecast up to 2 years in advance won't account for the weather pattern changes that we see. One of the main things we look for in winter is the status of El Nino, and for the first part of winter, November through January, we're expecting La Nina conditions, which would generally promote cooler than normal and wetter than normal conditions. But as we move into the second half of winter, January through March, it's a 55% chance for El Nino neutral conditions, which would favor warmer than normal temperatures and about an average amount of precipitation. Reporting in the studio, Sean Bellafieri, KWTX News 10.
Thanks, Sean. Since temperatures have cooled down some across central Texas for the holiday weekend, it's time to get a check at how the summer heat has been for us. For more on that, let's bring in First Alert meteorologist Brendan Jackson.
Temperatures over 100 degrees are common here in central Texas, but so far this summer, we've seen surprisingly few. With our last day above 100 degrees likely over for the month of August, let's take a look back and see how this summer so far stacks up to summers of the past. July and August are typically when we see the most triple-digit temperatures. Between 1991 and 2020, we have averaged about 8.5 days of 100-degree temperatures or more in July and about 11.5 in August. This year, we have had only 2 and 3 days respectively. In that same time period, we have averaged 24 days each year with temperatures in the triple digits. This year, we have had only those 5. While historically this isn't that uncommon, in recent years it has become more and more rare. Since 2010, we have been held under 10 100-degree days in a year only once, while we have also had 4 years with more than 50 triple-digit days. Typically our last day of the year where we see temperatures in the triple digits is right around now, late August to early September. But there have been years in the past where we have had temperatures in the hundreds as late as October, so we still have a chance for some more. But we typically see less than 2 triple-digit days in September and almost none in October. And with highs in the 80s in the forecast to start September, we very well may have already seen our last day in 2025 with temperatures in the hundreds. For KWTX, I'm First Alert meteorologist Brendan Jackson.
And take a look at this behind me. Parts of Arizona had some recovering to do on Monday after a powerful towering wall of dust moved through. The weather event known as a haboob plunged areas of the city into near zero visibility, and that also was quickly followed by severe damaging thunderstorms that impacted cities and towns across Arizona. Michael Yoshida reports.
A sight straight out of a movie. A towering cloud of dust swallowing up parts of Phoenix.
Can't see anything.
Drivers stopped as their cars were surrounded. State and weather agencies warning drivers to proceed with caution as the storm made visibility dangerously low.
We can see a little bit in front of us. I think there's a car behind us.
For about an hour, planes at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport couldn't take off or land due to a ground stop. Severe thunderstorms followed, leaving behind downed trees, wind damage, and widespread power outages.
Hearing the trees crack and stuff, this one felt like it was fast but devastating at the same time.
The intense dust storm known as a haboob swept through Arizona Monday night.
Look at this thing. I just got the warning like 10 minutes ago.
These types of storms are nothing new in Arizona's monsoon season, but this one packed an extra punch when the thunderstorm collapsed, blasting winds outward, scooping up desert soil and building it into a rolling wall of dust, which can climb thousands of feet high and stretch for miles. Monday's haboob followed a weekend dust storm in Nevada that blew through the annual Burning Man arts gathering, causing vendors to scramble to secure their tents.
This is what twilight looks like.
In Washington, I'm Michael Yoshida.
The season of fall typically means your allergies may start to act up. And up next on Weather Extra, we discuss ragweed and also hear from a doctor to learn more about the science behind why we have reactions to allergens. Stick with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Weather Extra. Ragweed season typically kicks off around mid to late August, with the peak of the season occurring generally around September to October. First Alert meteorologist C.D. Finley joins us now with more on ragweed season here in Central Texas.
Ragweed is a weed that is common in the U.S. and causes many to have allergy symptoms. According to Dr. Rodriguez of Baylor Scott and White Health, during the fall season, ragweed matures and releases pollen.
Usually the pollens tend to bloom mostly from August all the way to the first frost. And patients may have more symptoms during that time of the year.
Symptoms range from sneezing and watery eyes to asthma issues. And to treat these, Dr. Rodriguez says that the first step is avoidance, which is difficult to do. So what should you do?
You have to use your medications every day. Take your non-sedating antihistamines, take your nasal allergy spray. Also, while outside, you're breathing on the pollen to your nose. So I recommend to use saline nasal spray.
And Dr. Rodriguez also suggests taking care of the things you might not think of.
You need to change the filters of your AC unit, more frequently. You know how the AC works by bringing the outside air into the cooling unit and blowing that cold air inside the house. So you need to have a good filter. If you have pets, remember when the pets go outside to do their stuff, they bring all that pollen into their fur. So try to, not you, but somebody else in the house to clean the dog frequently or the cat, you can give them a bath, or you can use those wipes they use for pets to wipe them off.
And if you still have strong symptoms after taking these precautions, reach out to your doctor about next steps. From KWTX, I'm First Alert Meteorologist CD Finley.
Whether it's ragweed or cedar or some other pollen, allergies are something that a lot of us deal with year-round. And those various allergens impact people in many different ways. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brady Taylor had the chance to learn more from Dr. Rodriguez about the science behind allergies and why we have reactions to them.
So Dr. Rodriguez, I guess before we jump too far into it, in your body, what's going on when you have allergic reactions to something?
Well, it's an immune reaction. What happens, you develop this allergic antibody named IgE. And that IgE is specific to whatever environmental trigger or allergen, from pollen, dust mites, animal dander. And that IgE rests in around some allergy cells called mast cells. These mast cells, they're going to be in your body. It's going to be in your respiratory tissue, it's going to be in your lungs, it's going to be in your skin. So when you get exposed to this allergen that you produce, this specific IgE, it's going to trigger the mast cells to activate. And when the mast cells opens up, it releases a whole bunch of mediators into your body. For example, histamine, that it can trigger sneezing, itching, but also releases a whole bunch of mediators, like it's going to trigger an immune reaction in your body or inflammation in your body.
What's the difference when your body's reacting to, say, seasonal allergies versus environmental compared to food allergies that some of us deal with?
If we go back to environmental allergies, we call it allergic rhinitis. We also have seasonal or perennial. Seasonal is going to be for pollens, perennial is going to be for animal dander, dust mites, cockroach, moles. And then food allergy is different, because for food allergies, you tend to have a more severe systemic reaction that can involve your whole body. For example, we call that anaphylaxis.
For somebody that's been having allergy issues, when does it get to the point where somebody should make an appointment to come see a doctor about it?
When you're going to see the allergist immunologist is when you are using your daily medication and you're still very symptomatic, or you cannot get rid of the stuff that you think you're allergic to, and you're still very miserable or having side effects with the medication. That's the time to go see an allergist. And what we're going to do allergy skin tests to identify the possible allergens that you have reactions with. And then the next step is to provide allergy immunotherapy or what we call allergy shots. And it has an efficacy of around 85%.
Earlier in August, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced the development of a $750 million facility in South Texas that aims to help prevent the New World screwworm from making it into the state. And coming up next on Weather Extra, we talk with an expert in our latest episode of Degrees of Science to find out what they are and also what work is being done to prevent them from making it into the Lone Star State. Welcome back to Weather Extra. In recent weeks, there's been a ton of news about the New World screwworm, and we're asking you today if you know what it is and why it would cause major impacts to the state of Texas. Well, the good news is that we have the answers to those questions in this week's Degrees of Science, where Brady chats with a leading expert on the New World screwworm to learn more about this flesh-eating pest.
Dr. Kaufman, I guess right off the bat, what exactly is the New World screwworm?
So the New World screwworm is a type of blowfly. Most people know about blowflies as those are the large flies you often see on dead animals on the side of the road. And most blowflies eat dead animals. This one's different in that it will only grow and live on live animals. And so the female fly will find a wound on an animal, fresh wound, and lay her eggs in it. Those eggs hatch into larvae, and those larvae consume the animal, essentially consuming it alive. And as they get larger and larger, they do more and more damage and can, in many cases, cause the death of that animal within a week of the infestation starting.
Wow, and is it the larva, is that why it gets that screwworm name?
Yeah, the larvae burrow in as they eat, and people attribute that to kind of screwing into the host, and they kind of look like threads on a screw if you're looking at the larva itself.
So is this something that we're worried about with more livestock, or is it wild game that it could have more impact, or all of the above?
All of the above. So the fly really doesn't care what it lays its eggs in as long as it's a mammal. It occasionally will get into birds, but that's fairly uncommon. And one of the things we have very important concerns about is that our Texas wildlife are considerably more numerous than they were 50 years ago when we were first eradicating this fly. And although it may be difficult you can catch and treat livestock, but trying to catch wildlife or even know that the wildlife are infested is much, much more difficult. And so we're going to would see a lot of impacts on Texas wildlife in areas where an infestation might occur. But just stressing it, the fly is not in Texas. It is hundreds of miles south of the border, and there is active release of sterile insect in the area where the infestation currently is, to try and slow and even stop the progression of the fly northward.
So kind of talking about that a little bit, so is that what y'all did or was done back in the 60s, is the sterile insects, and how does that stop them coming up further?
So it's one of the landmark events in entomology history was the development of the sterile insect technique. And it works because, one, the fly is fairly rare in nature. When you compare it to other types of insects, they're really not that common. And because they're not tremendously common, we can grow the fly in the laboratory without using live animals, and we can produce hundreds of millions of them, run them through a sterilization process, and release those sterile flies, half of which are male flies. And it really works because the female screwworm will only mate once in her life. And you've essentially, if she mates with a sterile male, she will still perhaps lay eggs, but none of those eggs will hatch. And you essentially remove her from the ability to procreate more screwworms, and eventually you eradicate the fly from an area. And that process takes a number of years, and eventually, through cooperation with partners in Mexico and then other and Central American countries later, we pushed the fly all the way down below the Panama Canal, where it was maintained in a quarantined area for probably 25 years or so, until very recently when it escaped that quarantine area and has progressively been moving north through Central America and now into southern Mexico.
Is this anything that right now that, say, people in agriculture, businesses like that should be worried about this, or just kind of y'all think y'all got a good chance of stopping it before it gets here?
Well, so the fly certainly is not here. It's 400 to 600 miles south of the border, and Mexico is actively working to contain the fly down in that area of Mexico. We certainly need to be aware of it, and that's why we're doing educational events such as having interviews like we're doing now, is to raise public awareness, make sure that the cattle producers, sheep producers, horse owners, companion animal owners understand that should this fly arrive, we need to be very diligent in checking our animals. And if you do have an infestation, getting a hold of a veterinarian as quickly as you can, and making sure that you don't move that animal from where it's located, because humans are very good about moving livestock around. And if you move an animal that has an infestation, you're just moving that infestation to a new area, which just makes it more challenging to eradicate with our available tools.
To hear more about the New World screwworm in our latest episode of Degrees of Science, scan the QR code on your screen to watch on YouTube, or head over to our website, which is KWTX.com/Degrees of Science. Weather Extra returns after this. Welcome back to Weather Extra. During the hot summer months, dust devils can become somewhat common across central Texas. And when you see one, you may have wondered, how do they form? Well, First Alert meteorologist C.D. Finley joins us now to explain that.
This video was submitted to KWTX by Ashley Miller in Nolanville, Texas. The video appears to show a dust devil quickly spinning up in the street and knocking over some garbage cans. And check this video out. A dust devil spun up in the middle of a Little League baseball game in Florida, catching this unsuspecting catcher by surprise. With videos like this making the rounds on the internet, many people may be wondering, what exactly is a dust devil, and why do they seem to appear out of thin air? Dust devils begin at the Earth's surface, unlike their very distant cousin tornadoes, which form at the base of a convective thunderstorm. Dust devils are quite different, as they begin as a column of rising warm air. This typically occurs on a clear day with little to no wind, which allows the sun to warm the surface. This creates an area of low pressure, thus accelerating the rising air. As the area of low pressure develops, air rushes in, attempting to balance the air pressure, and this creates the circulation. Then the circulation becomes self-sustaining and picks up dust, dirt, and debris, creating the dust devil as we know it. This process ends when the cooler air surrounding the circulation is picked up, which then cuts off the circulation and it ends the dust devil cycle. So next time your trash cans get blown away on a bright and sunny day, now you know, it might have been a dust devil. Reporting for KWTX, I'm First Alert Meteorologist C.D. Finley.
That's all we have for you for this week's episode of Weather Extra. We hope you're having a wonderful Labor Day weekend. We'll see you next weekend for more of your top weather and science stories. Have a great week.